Karl Marx, in his critique of religion, so basically socialism or communism came out from the writing of Karl Marx critiquing capitalism, all right? And he says, and he also critiqued the church, and he says, religion is created as an opium of the masses. What does that mean? For him, religion is like a drugs. Because you can't handle suffering or reality, you just depend on religion to create your own reality so that you will feel numb about the pain and suffering, and then you'll hope for heaven, and it'll just comfort you. So religion is just a make-up story. It's like a drugs, so that you'll escape from reality into your own world, and then you'll have somehow a hope for heaven, and you're suffering here, you won't fight back the suffering, and you'll just hope for heaven. That's his whole theory in his critique of religion. It's a make-up story for him. Religion is the opium of the masses. That's why the director of Squid Game put drugs in the cross of Thanos, saying religion is like a drugs. It's going to distort your view of reality. Thanos cannot handle reality. He's been heartbroken. That's true even in his real life. He was heartbroken, and he even quit movie and singing until this director called him back again. So for him, drugs, that's why people like Justin Bieber or all these people, famous people, they want to escape reality. They could not handle it anymore, so they take drugs. And the opposite of that, says the Squid Game director or Karl Marx, even if you don't take drugs, religion is like a drugs for people who who feels the suffering of this world but don't want to really feel it, so they just have a hope for heaven, somehow will escape this art as a comforter. Is religion like that for you? Is it just a drugs for you to escape reality? Is the reality of God not real? But this guy, he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner, Czeslaw Milosz. He answered Karl Marx and said, can we read it together again? A true opium of the people is a belief in the nothingness after death, the huge solace of thinking that for our betrayals, greed, cowardice, murders, we are not going to be judged. He says, atheists may say religion is like a drugs for religious people, but he says, atheists don't want to believe God because they don't want to be judged for their wrongdoing. It's an opium. It's like a drugs. Atheism is like a drugs for people who don't want to be judged for the evil and the sin that they do. Because knowing that there's going to be a God who will judge you for whatever you do, you don't want that. So you just deny that God ever exists, and you live your own life. Christopher Hitchens, a very good debater, in a book that many of his books that I love to read, like God is Not Great. He was an atheist. He already died of cancer. He says, I don't want a God. I don't want a God who will judge me or rule me. So if you're saying religion is just like a drugs, I am saying atheism is also like a drugs for people who don't want to face judgment for whatever they do. So which one is true? The problem is, for some people, religion may be a drugs. For people like C.S. Lewis, it's not a drugs at all. We can read this together again, please. You must picture me alone in that room in Magdalene, night after night, feeling whenever my mind lifted even for a second from my work, the steady, unrelenting approach of Him whom I so earnestly desire not to meet, that which I greatly feared had at last come upon me. In the Trinity term of 1929, I gave in and admitted that God was God, and knelt and prayed perhaps that night, the most dejected and reluctant convert in all of England. C.S. Lewis was an atheist. When his mom died of cancer, he says, there's no God. If there's a God, why is there so much suffering in this world? I don't want to believe in God. So he spent his life believing there's no God. But he became a philosopher and an English literature professor in Oxford University and Cambridge University. And he wrote books like Chronicles of Narnia. So he's the author. And in 1929, after doing all his research, he says, I became a Christian. But not because I want to be a Christian, but I do my research and it's the truth, not as an opium or drugs, because it's the truth, so I need to give in. I'm a reluctant convert, he says. But if you read his books, he says, the funny thing is, I came to God not wanting to believe him, but because he's real. And you know what? God surprised me with a lot of joy. So in his testimony book, you know the title of the book? It's called Surprised by Joy. He says, I came to Jesus Christ and he surprised me with a lot of joy. So Squid Game, the director wants us to think that Christianity and the cross is like a drugs. But no, it's not a drugs for us. It's the truth for us. How did Ji-hoon died? Huh? He sacrificed himself, right? He could kill the baby, right? But he did not kill. But he fall down. And when he fall down, what's his position? What's his body language? He'll put his hand like a cross. Because the director is knowing Jesus died so that we can live. Jesus bear the judgment of God, so you and I don't need to bear the judgment of God. So the director is expressing the cross of Christ and letting the baby live. But there's a problem in Squid Game. Where are these people? Where are these people? The problem with Squid Game is the evil people still live on. Even though they destroy the mountains, they still let the game continue. And also, if you listen to the Squid Game conversation on Netflix, where the director and Ji-hoon and the bad guy, the malevolent guy, was having a conversation, the director says, I need to let Ji-hoon die and let the baby live because there's so much blood in the hands of Ji-hoon already, and I cannot let him live. That's what the director says. But what about these people? Where do they live? If Ji-hoon had killed so many people, he need to die. What about these people? Why do they need to go on living and start a new game? Now even they even come to Western country now, playing the game. Packs. White people playing the Squid Game now. And the bad guy was watching closely. There is no justice in Squid Game. Those rich people who just watch people killing people for fun's sake never face justice. It's not fair. Do you think it's fair? So the problem with Squid Game, I come up with 3 problems. Number 1, economy is not the main problem. For the director of Squid Game, for him, he thinks economy, money is the whole problem. He's like, if everybody is all rich, there'll be no problem. But there's a problem, I tell you. The heart of man is deceitful and desperately wicked. That's from the book of Jeremiah in the Bible. And the real problem with us is not that we are poor or rich. The real problem is we don't have relationship with God. Can we read 2 Corinthians 5:20, please? Therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. 2 Corinthians 5:20. You and I, if you are not yet a Christian, if you don't give your life to Jesus Christ yet, you don't have a relationship with God. And as long as you don't have a relationship with God, you don't have a new heart yet. And as long as you don't have a new heart yet, you may be rich or you may be poor. Pride, deceitful, selfishness, ego, and all these things will take over your heart and it will destroy your family or your love relationship. See? When the Apostle Paul have relationship with God, you know what he says? He says it's not about success or economy or riches. He says, can we read together? I'm not saying this out of need, for I have learned to be content regardless of my circumstances. He's saying, even though I'm rich or poor, even though my background is good or not, I am content with the Lord, so I don't need to give other people to show me how valuable I am, or how worthy I am, or I don't need riches to be able to say I'm happy in life. Because whether I'm poor or rich, I have a relationship with God that will never break, and so I am content in life. All right? And I have a security. I'm saying a personal relationship with Christ. You will be content in life. Whether you're poor or rich, whether you have a broken heart or not, you'll be content in life. And the world cannot give you that. That's what Christ offered to you. And you are studying so hard or not studying, you are going to university. Why? One or two reasons. You want security in life. You want a career that will give you money. But once you get the career, mind you, you still won't have security if you don't have God. Okay, the third problem with Squid Game is justice will be served. In Squid Game, there's no justice. The evil people live on. But in Christianity, when Jesus came back from the other dimension where he is in right now, judgment will be served. God is going to judge people. Hitler is not going to escape judgment. But the problem is you might not be Hitler, but if you don't have Jesus Christ, you're going to be judged the same. Because evil is evil even though it's large or small. You know, if God don't judge people, you know, God won't be fair. Before I became a Christian, while I was an agnostic in the university, I used to hate the fact that Christians used to say, God will judge, there will be hell. I used to abhor the notion of hell and justice. But one of my friends who was a female got raped. You know what I realized? If God did not judge the one who raped my friend, God won't be fair. But you know what? I go on thinking, and I'm like, what if God judged my sin? Will it be fair? As long as you are the perpetrator, justice is not nice. But the moment you become the victim, you long for justice. The moment you became the victim, you're saying, God, where are you? When will you judge people? And then people escape the judgment of police. The police never caught them. The other day I was watching a criminal case on YouTube, and this guy who raped 3 girls, 21 years old, and killed them, Sangboy was there while I was watching, and killed them, got found out only after 60 years. And he spent only 6 months in prison and died. There is no justice in this world, young people. But I promise you, when the Bible promises, when Christ comes back, justice will be served. But the problem is, if God is going to judge us fairly, will you be able to stand in the judgment? Because God is not only going to judge our action, He's going to judge our intention. Intent is prior to content. Not only what we do, why we do. And how will we escape that judgment? If God don't judge us, He won't be fair. But if He judges us, we're in trouble. I don't know, you guys might be all innocent, may not be in trouble. How many of you are sinless, perfect? Oh, some of you look so innocent. You aren't innocent like me. But I'm so happy, you know why? Because Jesus took my place in the judgment. And He gave me a new heart so that I could live my old life and start a new life. Judgment is costly. It costs the death of the Son of God. It's not a free gift. Jesus paid it so you could enjoy it. You know, 3 things converge in the cross of Christ. 3 things. We're all looking for 3 things. Number 1, love. We all want to be loved and belong. Like it or not, you want to be loved. You want to accept it or not, we all want to be loved. But then we see evil. And we demand justice. Love, evil, and justice are the true realities in the world. And you know where they all come together? In the cross of Jesus Christ. He died an evil death. Why? Because He loved you. Why? Because God demands justice. And if you accept Jesus Christ, you don't need to face the judgment of God. Jesus did for you. And He will give you a new heart, and you will be able to live a life that is pleasing to God in this world. And you'll be able to live a life that will justify the end. A good life, a joyful life. Not good and boring life, but good and joyful life. That's all we can learn from Squid Game, critiquing Squid Game. Economy is not the main problem. It's our broken relationship with God. The end does not justify the means. Justice will be served. Christ is coming back to bring judgment. Can we move on, please? Another step, another more. One more. Is that all? And we'll be able to say with Apostle Paul, whether I'm rich or poor, in success or failure, my identity is in contact. I have an identity that can handle either success or failure, depression or non-depression. I can handle life and all that life throws at me. Because I have Christ, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. Let me pray.